Been up on Channel 4 and the BBC for most of the last 20 years. I've covered every Olympic Games and Paralympics since Athens, and it was my great privilege to twice have an opportunity to help the BBC as part of their sailing coverage from those two memorable regattas, Qingdao in 2008, and then who could forget Weymouth, the opening ceremony on the beach, 12,000 people. It wasn't as big as what other people enjoyed in London, but there was a real carnival atmosphere around Weymouth, and they were two exceptionally well put together British teams. And I think one of the things I took from those two regattas, many of you here will already know this, but sailing has gone way, way beyond the realm of anyone with a slightly wealthy father or mother can get on the water and become an Olympic medalist, or can sail these F-50 beasts. Yes, sponsors are of key importance, and finance is also absolutely vital. But it's the hard work, the dedication, and the bravery of the athletes that leads to greatness. Every single one of those sailors on those two Olympic campaigns were world class, and every single one of the sailors who contested the inaugural season of SailGP were also world class. And that is what we're here to celebrate and commemorate now. It is going to be a seismic season in 2020, I can promise you that. The organisers wanted to reiterate our thanks to those of you who were able to make it here, especially if you had been scheduled to come to the original press conference. But SailGP is an evolving entity, so we have had to change a few dates around, but we promise the wait will have proved worth it. So, what's changing? Well, before we look ahead to 2020, let's have a review of a season that was first announced October the 3rd last year. So it's only just over 12, 13 months that the first major press conference happened at the Tower Thistle. And all those months later, we look back on a season that absolutely lived up to the hype on every level. Larry Ellison and Sir Russell Coutts had a vision that they were going to create Sailing Redefined. And this is the season that started in Sydney and finished with a flourish in France in September.
Hey! Switch right on, pull the helm, pull the helm. Good shoot! Come on, boys! Mate! That was close!
Combination of national teams.
Slingers on the wheel. The guy's a weapon.
High-performance boats.
One of the fastest boats in the world.
It's going to be a credible spectacle to watch.
Slap bang in the middle of Sydney Harbour.
Welcome to SailGP.
It is on.
Race 1 in Sydney, won by the Japanese.
Hey, come on!
Goodness, how close that is.
Fuck me!
Great speed as they approach this finish.
It's been a remarkable display.
Pretty cool, eh? Never seen this in Sydney before.
The colours of this inaugural SailGP are green and gold.
It is not just redefining sailing, it's also about spectator experience.
SailGP are putting on a bit of a show.
San Francisco trying to bow down in the water.
That wasn't a nice feeling. Bloody scary, to be honest.
Team France, very close cross there. Fuck!
He wasn't going to give us an inch.
What it was showing was that both of us want to win.
I don't know how we missed. It would have been catastrophic.
A very well-deserved win for the team from Great Britain. Japan for second. Oh, it's very close to contact.
Extraordinary sailing.
Not a conventional sailboat.
It's the next stage again.
The F-50 is the machine. A relentless speed.
New York City!
We've got a capsize on the Hudson Bay.
Wow, that is hectic.
We're on the edge of control all the time.
Straight over the top of Japan.
How's the heart rate?
USA are about to get their first win.
First race win, there we go. Come on, boys!
Japan win in New York City.
I love this job.
Shit, yeah. To finally get a win on the board was great. To get that one back evened up the whole event.
The Inspire program, introducing young people to sailing.
The engineering, the technology and the media.
It's been amazing. Once in a lifetime opportunity.
And here they go, in towards the massive crowd.
Thousands of people everywhere.
It's right there and they're going so fast.
happy that we did 50.
I don't give a shit what they do.
Everyone says they don't care, but everyone talks about it.
Dylan pissed me off. The next day we went out and kicked his ass.
USA are in! Great job by the French. Oh, Chris Draper just getting thrown. Team Australia, 3 from 3. Awesome job. This is something special.
This is where the action is.
One more time, let's make some noise.
All right, we're out of here. We'll see you later. Have a good one.
Copy.
Welcome to Marseille. Welcome to the grand final.
The French, they've finally won a race.
China comes from behind to take overall 3rd place.
It's Australia versus Japan. Slingsby versus Outridge. Who will come out on top?
Who will take home the $1 million prize?
Oh, very close there. Australia crowned inaugural champions of SailGP.
Season. And next year promises to be even bigger and better. That was 3 continents, 5 events, 6 boats, and 2 Olympic champions, both from Australia, going toe-to-toe for that $1 million US. Right, to the big announcement. Some of you will have guessed it already. In order to unveil our big news, please welcome 2 men to the stage who have metaphorically and literally been at the helm of some of sailing's most important moments, Sir Russell Coutts and Chris Draper. So Russell, Chris, drum roll at the ready. This year has been sensational. Next year, we already know, is going to be even bigger and better. Please reveal why.
Well, yeah, thank you, Rob. You know, obviously an incredible first year with SailGP, but about a month ago, you know, an incredible opportunity came to fruition for SailGP GBR, and Russell and I started discussing it ahead of that, and, you know, an incredible chance to welcome enormous talent onto our boat, as well as potentially the most successful sailor of all time, and certainly the most successful Olympic sailor of all time, into our team, as well as welcome 4 new incredible partners to our team with INEOS, Belstaff, Grenadier, and AFEX. So an enormous opportunity for our team. Super proud to be here with Russell, and yeah, really, really exciting times.
Yes, thank you, Chris. It is exciting times, and it's our absolute pleasure to formally announce that we are bringing on board the greatest Olympic sailor of all time, perhaps arguably, certainly, well, not in my opinion, it's not arguable. Ben Ainsley, the greatest sailor of all time, is coming on board with the Great Britain SailGP team. Welcome, Sir Ben Ainsley.
A quick photo, I believe, with the steering wheel. Amazing to think we are on stage with not 1, but 3 Olympic medalists. It's not often you have such a great collection in one place at one time. Don't throw me out the window this time. It's a little running joke amongst my friends. It was quite exciting being on the water with Ben in Beijing and in Weymouth. I wasn't actually hugging him. I was holding onto the life jacket to make sure he stayed in camera shot live on the BBC. But a very, very special group of sailors. Okay, guys, I think we've done the pictures. If we can take our seats and let's hear more about it. So, Ben, you're never short of things to do and challenges. We know all about the America's Cup. You've flown in across the Atlantic overnight to be here. Why SailGP, and why now?
Well, firstly, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Russell and Chris. As they said, this has happened pretty quickly, and it wouldn't be without their support and the way they've managed this process that we're here today. And of course, on behalf of the rest of the team at Ineos, we're so excited to be involved with SailGP. I know it's been a vision of Russell's and Larry's for many years to get a circuit like this going. And it's absolutely been, I think, frankly, a necessity in sailing to have something like this. And so we're very, very proud and excited to be involved in the evolution of SailGP.
Your book is a great read. I've had it for
oh my God.
7 years. It's all right. I'm not going to start at chapter 1, but just a quick. I was given this book on New Year's Eve.
It's not a comedy show, mate.
I was given this book New Year's Eve 2012, about 2 hours before my wedding, because I was absolutely ripped mercilessly for the fact that I got a mention in your book for being over enthusiastic. Anyway, that's not the point of having the book here. There's a very interesting quote here about Sir Ben, and I think it underlines anybody who thinks, well, how can you juggle 2 world-class campaigns at the same time? I think this underlines the mental strength of the man in the middle. It says here, my belief is if you're going to compete in a race or competition, you need to be properly prepared and you need to give yourself the best possible chance of being successful. Too many times you can be talked into a race where you're not prepared, and it can frustrate the blank out of you when you then go on to put in a poor performance. Losing is only acceptable when you've given absolutely everything to the cause. The reason I mention that is you don't do anything unless you're in a position to give it 100% of your energy. So this isn't just filling the gap for you. This is the real deal. You're entering this because you want to win.
Yeah, for sure. And we're lucky. We're super lucky that we're combining with Chris and the team that he's built up already and incorporating a lot of the sailors. Many of them are here today into that team. So we gain that experience from this season, and of course we've got to get up to speed pretty quickly. And the amount of training that you can do on these boats is quite limited. And so we'll be doing a lot of analysis on what's gone on this season and making the most of that time in the build up to the first regatta in Sydney. But the racing that I've seen from the outside has been phenomenal, really. And these boats, the F50s, the upgrades that they've made to them in the last couple of seasons, and then that technology married with the one design element when you actually do get out in the water. So it's really about the sailors using the same tools and going at it hammer and tongs, and that creates the fantastic racing that we've seen.
Well, it certainly has been a brilliant campaign so far, but where for much of this season it's been Slingsby against Outridge. What a triumvirate of excellence, Russell. We go Slingsby, Outridge, AINSLIE. That is a mouth-watering prospect for 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, right there you've got, I think, 3 of the top 4 helmsmen in these types of high-performance boats in the world. So, and you can imagine, Tom Slingsby and Nathan are going to be itching to have a go at Ben, and Ben's not going to want to, let those guys beat him. So I think it's shaping up to be a fantastic series. As Ben said, we had, some great racing last year, and I think the other teams as well that are getting better and better as they get more time in the boats. All of these teams have got great sailors on board, so they all had a win, at least one win in a race this last season. So I think we're going to expect to see some, absolutely fantastic racing next year.
Well, in a way, you've probably ruffled a few feathers because you're not just gift wrapping it for the 2 Australians. This is the real deal now. This is going to be a very, very tough title to win. Harder for 2020 than it was this year.
Oh, no question. And I think they all know that. They're all looking at the teams now. They're all looking to get stronger. I was even on a call recently with Tom Slingsby, and he's considering options as well, and he's not just sitting on his hands. So I think it's going to get more and more competitive, and really that's critical for the success of SailGP. It's great to have Ben and his team on board with this, but it's critical that we have great racing, really competitive people out there fighting it out, and and it's also critical, I think, that from our perspective, from SailGP's perspective, that we can really bring out these personalities and bring out these some of the backstories in this racing and bring that to the forefront, so that this becomes more of a, I guess, appealing to the general sports fan as opposed to the niche sport that sailing traditionally has been in the past.
Chris, you're the CEO of the British team. You've been out on the water. Your pedigree as a sailor is unquestioned. Multiple world champion, Olympic bronze medalist in the 49er with Simon back in 04. How are you going to juggle bringing the big man in the middle into this team? It's going to be, a few ruffles with a few egos, but you'll smooth it all out, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any major challenges there. The reality is Ben sailed the boats in a similar format to how they are before, and like Russell says, we're one of the best sailors, but one of the best helmsmen, without a doubt, to set foot in one of these kind of boats. So I think that it's going to be very easy for them to make that transition, and with the sailors that they bring in, along with the sailors that we have in the team, part of my role running the team is to make it so these guys can come in and perform on the day, and everything's ready to go, and that's where it will move more for me, and that's a really enjoyable aspect. And we've also got an incredible team supporting that to happen, the data analysis and all that kind of stuff, where we can literally put the boat on the exact settings that the boat that won the championship last year would have been on in any condition, and they can just jump in, pull the wing on and sail, and that's why these guys want to come and do this circuit, because the racing's just absolutely incredible. It's an incredible opportunity to work on your communication, your skills, your racing skills, and it's so good to have the best sailors racing in this circuit, and that's only increasing that with what we're doing here.
And Ben, there's been great support from INEOS Team UK, and you brought Belstaff and Grenadier with you. This is a collective team effort, to use that cliche, and you guys are going to bring added value to their brand by being part of SailGP for 2020 and hopefully beyond.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've seen with INEOS some huge impact on the world of sport in the last 2 years, really, maybe even less, with some amazing feats. 1:59, for breaking the 2-hour barrier for the marathon, winning the Tour de France, Nice and Lausanne Football Club, and many other amazing challenges ahead, I think, with INEOS. So we're, in a way, we're very proud to be part of that INEOS sports family, and SailGP, as well as the fantastic racing. We're out in some really iconic venues. Talking about New York, Sydney, Cowes, of course, as Brits we're very proud of. But some really iconic venues all around the world. And so that offers not only fantastic racing, but a great way for our partners and all of the SailGP family to activate those partnerships. And, as Russell said, to build that circuit, which year one was impressive, and I think it's only going to grow from here, and it's a great potential for the future of the sport.
And Russell, you must be delighted, not only with the personality that Ben brings and all the achievements, but to have INEOS on board at this embryonic stage. We're only 13 months on from the launch on October the 3rd. It adds further gravitas to the fact that you guys are not just here for 3 years. You want this to be a well-sustained, world-class sporting event to rival the very best.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the fact that Ben and his team are bringing on board these brands is an example to all of the teams, and I think this isn't just a passion. For this to really work and be sustainable as a business, these teams need to be commercially sustainable, and the whole idea really is that these teams can exist for many years. In fact, hopefully for a long time, and sustain personnel changes, perhaps ownership changes, and so forth. But the British team will continue to exist through that, and just like it does with most other sports models. So that's what we're working hard to promote and provide the platform that these teams really can build their audience, build their brand equity over many years.
And just looking back on the season, you are a man who sets yourself and others around you very high standards and high targets. Were you impressed? Did it live up to everything that you hoped it would be, with Slingsby and Outridge going toe-to-toe in that brilliant grand final, missing each other by, what was it, probably 2 feet, if that?
or less than that actually. It was it was about 100 millimeters, I think, wasn't it, Chris? Something close like that. So yeah, when you're doing those sort of speeds, that was pretty close racing. But it really has exceeded our expectations, I think, in the first year. You know, we had a global television audience of around 256 million. We had 1.8 billion media and social media impressions. We had, I think, an economic impact or cumulative economic impact across our 5 events of this season of 115 million, so an average of 23 million per event. We had 133,000 cumulative spectators across the 5 events, 38,000 downloads on our mobile app, which we're very proud of. It's a fantastic piece of kit. And then even our e-game platform that we launched in Marseille, in the first 2 days there, we had 100,000 EF50s cross the starting line in those 2 days. So, yeah, pretty incredible results in season 1. And the good thing is that we are really excited. I mean, that's just the starting point. We're really excited about where we're taking this in the future now.
Chris, you have that dual role because you've got a business hat on as well as being out on the water. You had a nosedive, capsize. You won race 4, I think, in San Fran. What are these cats actually like to handle out on the water? Because again, just to reiterate, none of you actually got your hands on these until about December last year. So it's a bit like being introduced to a wild racehorse. You're not quite sure what she's going to do next. But what were they actually like to be out on the water on?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to explain the racing to you earlier, Rob, and some of the races that we did that last year, is the one event that really, really stands in my mind is, fortunately, as you can imagine, not the capsize or the nosedive, but the racing in San Francisco. We were crossing the finish line in those races and literally turning around to one another and just, that is the best sailing I've ever been a part of in my life. Just absolutely incredible racing. So, the boat's so close, so competitive, and you're crossing the line, and even me as like a wing trimmer who doesn't have an athletic role is out of breath, is mentally exhausting, but just insane fun to be a part of. And that's why the likes of Ben want to come and do this racing, because it really is the best sailboat racing out there by so far right now, and it's been amazing to be a part of. It's been tricky to juggle in many ways the sailing and management role of the team, so it's actually going to be really quite a nice thing in many ways to be able to focus on that management side. And like Russell says, the teams have to be commercially viable, and that was always the goal of this circuit, and this opportunity provides our team with an incredible chance to do that, which is amazing. And it's going to be a different role, but a really enjoyable one and a really exciting opportunity.
So, Ben, what are your thoughts ahead of season 2, your first campaign in SailGP? Outridge, Slingsby, the Chinese got on the podium, which is really important because they're one of the 2 developmental squads. It's all there, but it's going to take some winning this thing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And just in the last month, knowing that this was probably going to come to fruition, I've been going back watching a lot of the racing from this season. And as the guys have been saying, and you pointed out, there's millimeters making a difference in a lot of these results, and speeds of up to 50 knots. So, yeah, it's as I think it said in the promo, it's on, isn't it? I mean, this racing it's full on, and as Chris said, as racing sailors, that's what we do. That's what we want to be out there pushing ourselves to the limit against the best sailors. We're certainly going to get that, and so for our team to sharpen our skills, be out there racing against the best on a fantastic circuit in such high-tech boats as well. It's absolutely an incredible opportunity, yeah.
And
the great thing I think about that is these guys are going to drive each other to get better. I think that's the fantastic thing. You've got the top sailors in the world all battling it out, and they're all going to want to win, and they're all going to drive each other to I think, greater achievements. So it's going to be fun to watch, that's for sure.
Now, it says here in the notes, Russell, so I am allowed to mention this. I'm just going to put the name out there. Jonas Ho Christensen what are the chances that he's going to be involved? Because from a journalistic point of view, the rematch from 2012, the great quote from Ben, if you type in 2012, Ben Ainsley, he made a big mistake because I'm angry and he didn't want to make me angry. Put in Ben Ainsley, the Incredible Hulk, and it went absolutely viral. It was a brilliant rivalry. Ben got over the line in 2012. If you bring Christensen into this mix, you go from a triumvirate of excellence to a four-way battle for glory that's just mouth-watering.
You didn't tell me anything about that.
So are we, any chance, or are you staying tight-lipped?
We've had a few announcements today, and we'll have some other announcements in the future.
Okay. Brilliantly deflected. Okay, look, whether it's the Danes or whatever, just give the journalists a timescale as to when you think you might be making another announcement, even though this thing is evolving all the time.
Yeah, well, we've announced 4 venues for next season so far, and we'll be announcing more in these coming weeks. And then it's likely that there'll be another team joining the series in Sydney. So there's quite a bit of preparation to do for that team. They'll be sailing their F50 in New Zealand coming up. And as I said, we'll be announcing that team in due course. So.
A twinkle in his eye. I think we'll have to leave it there. Chris, as well as having Belstaff and Grenadier, we can also announce today that AFEX have come on board as a partner. What do you think attracted them to come and be part of this great festival of sailing?
Yeah, obviously we've got some amazing announcements today, and AFEX is one of those announcements as well, and it's incredible to welcome them as one of our partners. They're coming on as our official foreign exchange partner. Obviously we're traveling globally, iconic venues all around the world. It's going to be incredible to have their assistance with our currency exchange as we go through the circuit in the year. And we've welcomed the team to a dinner that we had recently down in Dorset. They all travelled down there. It was fantastic to have them there, and really, really lovely bunch. And it's going to be incredible to have their partnership through the next season.
Room for any more sponsors? And if so, if you were making a plug, what's the appeal for their brand to get involved with SailGP?
Well, the fact that we've got the partnerships from the likes of Ineos, Belstaff, Grenadier and AFEX is only sort of supersedes what we're trying to achieve here, and there's amazing opportunities. The success of SailGP in this season 1 is absolutely unbelievable. Like Russell just elaborated on the stats, they're pretty incredible, and there's amazing opportunities there still with partnerships, even with our British team, and obviously there's many other teams around the globe as well, and it's fantastic billboard and opportunity for any companies, and we're just super proud to be in such a fantastic position right now with the British team.
Russell, are you happy with the sponsorship model as it is now, and what sort of return on their investment do you think the likes of Oracle and Rolex enjoyed during this inaugural season?
Oh, well, the great thing is that we've already got some, fantastic partners, some fantastic brands on board now. And in fact, most of them, Rolex, Oracle and Land Rover came on before we even started, even one event. So that's fantastic. And you're going to see more partnerships with the teams, which is such an important facet to making these teams viable for the long term. So that's great. I think in terms of return on investment, we've had 3 companies, Iris, SMG and Wasserman Media, evaluate those media returns, and we've been very happy with the results. So there's great prospects for the future. Now that we've got the data from season 1, which we didn't even have, obviously, at the beginning, we can now go to these and have these discussions with confidence that we can deliver real value to our partners. And quite frankly, they come into this environment, and it's you look at a company like AFEX, and it's going to be a great thing for them to be rubbing shoulders with these other partners and some of the team owners and so forth, and there's a lot of benefits there as well. So we're extremely optimistic in the future. I can confidently say that there is going to be more announcements coming up in terms of partnerships with teams and so forth. So the prospects look look pretty bright, I must say.
Well, you are a man who is renowned for your attention to detail, and of course everybody knows about your America's Cup exploits, but I did a little bit of research on your gold medal winning campaign in the Finn class in 1984. I just want to check, because it looks here as though your attention to detail saved your campaign. There's a great book you can buy by David Woloczynski that details every race, every final race in every regatta. It says here, Coutts was almost disqualified in 84. At the final weigh-in, his clothing was found to be 1 pound over the weight limit. However, at a third weigh-in, for which Coutts carefully arranged each individual garment, he just crept below the 20k maximum and went on to secure gold. First of all, is that true?
Well, it's actually less than 1 pound. I think it was 0.2 of a kilo. The first weigh-in, they weighed all the clothing together, and of course it didn't drain properly. And then in the subsequent weighs, the clothing was arranged individually and it weighed in. We did check it before the race, obviously, and so it was a bit of a surprise when it came in over. Yeah, a nervous moment there.
But the fact that you were able to recall that with such clarity underlines why you do have such a passion about sailing. And just give us an insight into how the tech that has been of unprecedented levels this year is going to get even better for next year's campaign.
Yeah, well, first of all, you do tend to remember those moments, you know. The technology. One of the things that's very exciting is we're bringing in a new wing sail on all of the teams. So all of the teams race this with the same equipment. So as Ben said, this is all about establishing who the best sailors are. And even though we're advancing the equipment all of the time. So, for example, during last season, we brought on a new control system actually during the season. So there's modifications going on all of the time, but they go across all boats. And next year, we're introducing a new wing sail across all of the teams. It's much more advanced than the current wing sails. It's going to give them many more control points on that wing sail. It'll be faster and stronger winds. It allows us. It's a modular wing, so it allows us to have different size wing sails for the different conditions. So in strong winds, it's a 18-metre span. In the all-purpose wing, which is the current wing size, is 24 metres, and then there'll be a larger wing for light winds up to 29 metres, or 29 and a half, I think. So that of course addresses the age-old problem in sailing where, and with our live television, this is really an issue for us, is if you get light winds or strong winds, you've got to be able to race. And so this 18-metre wing, get out there, boys. If it's windy, it's going to be all on. And so that's one of the things. But I think even more exciting is what we're doing in the broadcast sector, where this year we had a fantastic arrangement, or not an arrangement, a fantastic partnership with Whisper Films, and they did our television production. And I think we established a really good base for season 1, but I'm super excited about bringing more technology on board for season 2. I think we're going to bring the pre and post race analysis into the studio, use virtual models to explain exactly all of the details of the boat and the details of the racing, so that we can really bring the non-sailing fan up to a level where they really understand what's going on, and they understand, you know, for example, why Ben Ainsley might have beaten Tom Slingsby in that particular race. So I think that's really exciting. The fact that the data coming off the boat, I think we have 800 sensors, and I think it's 3,000 pieces of data coming off the boat every 10th of a second. So that all goes, what we say, in the public domain. So that can be used for broadcast, as well as the teams evaluating their performance. And what that really means is we are able to use insights, and we only really were scratching the surface on this last year with our AI technology and so forth, but really use insights to create, I think, interesting features and interesting insights for the fans to really get in and see why these boats are such high performance and why these teams are sailing them right at the edge. So, yeah, we're excited about that.
Chris, what's the use of tech like when you guys are out on the water in training and in a racing situation? You've got a myriad of data at your fingertips, at your disposal.
Yeah, like Russell said, there's like 1,200 data points on the boat, but there's many boats in the world that have that, but what we have here with this circuit is, if you think of Formula One or something like that, and you actually have the ability to see what the other car's setup is, what their gear ratios are and so on. Like we do actually have that in SailGP live while we're sailing. So we've got somebody on the shore all the time. You can be lined up in training next to another boat. You can see exactly what settings absolutely everything is on their boat. For us, for our team going into next season, that's fantastic for bringing people that not sailed the boats as much up to speed really, really quickly, and mean that they can put it on, like I said earlier, the settings that the fastest boat is on at that moment. But it goes a lot further than that. It means you can break down the maneuvers. You can see exactly what buttons are getting pressed at any time. Each of the boats have got like over 100 buttons on. There's one rope. It is a button pressing boat these days. Everything's electronic. It's all hydraulic actuators, and there's so many ducks that have to align for all those maneuvers that you see going around the race course. It's impossible to get it over to people how in synchronization those button presses have to be, and how people have got to run certain places and so on to make all that happen. But what it means is we can literally see that all the time, and there's nowhere to hide as well. And like Russell says, as that technology becomes more easily broadcastable and comes into the studios, you can literally see, that tack failed because Joe Bloggs forgot to press that button at that point, and so on. And that's a really cool part of how it's developing as well.
Yeah, well, I think too, when you look at it, there's a whole lot of things that have to be pretty much perfectly timed to execute one of these maneuvers well. And being able to show that in the broadcast and show, okay, that timing was off by half a second there and so forth. I think it's really going to bring out the insights that haven't really been understandable to both sailing and non-sailors in the past.
It does sound like it will be a truly interactive process with that data being available during the races. Ben, not often you get to compete at home, and Cowes, the Solent, will be absolutely amazing. Memories of Weymouth and the Nothe back in 2012.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, watching the racing they had this season, there's plenty of wind, I think, from the looks of it, and some pretty amazing speeds. Was it, you got the 50 knots, Chris? Was that right on the training day beforehand? Yeah, and then during the racing as well. So hopefully, if we get that southwesterly sea breeze sort of cranking in 20-25 knots with the smaller wing, it should be some exciting moments, that's for sure. And we also represent. We're partnered with the Royal Yacht Squadron, and racing out in front of that iconic yacht club as well. I think it's very special for all of us British sailors, and that patch of water's seen a lot of action over the years, but nothing quite like SailGP.
Give us an insight into the makeup of the team, because it is going to be a mix of Ineos Team UK and Great Britain SailGP, and I understand you've got Matt Gottrell, the Olympic rowing champion, the first to be announced as an official partner to you next season.
Yeah, well, Matt's been great. He's been involved with the team now for a couple of months, and as you say, from a sailing and rowing background, but gold medalist in the rowing, and certainly pushing the guys on the grinding very, very hard. And we've also got Neil Hunter, who's been involved with SailGP this year, and Richard Mason as well. So those are just a few of the guys that we're able to incorporate between the two teams, really. And we'll see how that develops as we go through this season, and then hopefully building it longer term. So, getting that young talent coming through, especially these super fit guys, it's that's what you need on these boats.
Will you miss not being on the water, Chris, assuming that is how things pan out for 2020, or are you quite happy, pulling the master strokes from the shore?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was pretty anxious quite often this year, if I'm totally honest. So I'm not that disgruntled about not sailing anymore. But no, it's the racing's so quick and fast. And to be honest, with our team, the plan had always been for me to get off the boat this season. And we'd been coming and going on that. So yeah, it's not really that I'm not too disgruntled at all about not sailing anymore. And it's going to be awesome to see these guys light these boats up. And I think, like Russell said, the racing's just going to be incredible, and it's only just going to increase the depth of the fleet. That's for sure.
Russell, an eye to the future, perhaps beyond the next forthcoming season. Do you see this being a long-term partnership between INEOS and SailGP?
Oh, we hope so. I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for everyone. You know, clearly Ben's a well-known sports person and personality here in the UK, and you know, that's a great thing for us, you know, in building the brand for SailGP, and we would like to think that he would be involved, you know, for a long time, even beyond his sailing days, you know. So, yeah, we hope that partnership continues.
And Ben, from your point of view, you know, if you have an amazing 2 seasons and you end up winning it all, you won't be retiring anytime soon. Can we see you as a long-term participant on and off the water, perhaps in SailGP, looking deep into the future?
Well, look, I'd certainly hope so. Like I said, I've been known Russell for many, many years, and it's been clear that vision that the sport needed an event like this. So I, you know, wholeheartedly support that, and would love to be a part in some way helping to build that up, because you know, sailing's an amazing sport. It's got so many opportunities, but this is an area where I think in the past perhaps it hasn't been able to build up the right sort of circuit, which this is. And you know, people talk about America's Cup and SailGP being in conflict. I very much see them actually complementing one another. And the America's Cup has the history and the prestige, but SailGP, you know, it has the technology as well and the continuity, which is what you absolutely need. You need to be racing year in, year out, and to build that circuit up as SailGP is just starting. And so, yeah, I certainly hope to be involved for the long term.
It's a hugely important stepping stone for sailing, isn't it? Because, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're in an Oppie and you're 7 or 8, or whether you're sailing these monstrous F50s that cost £6 or £7 million. You know, the passion for the sport is still the same. It's a great platform with which to hook kids into the sport. That's something that SailGP and you are also very passionate about. It's not just this is great, but it's about getting them in early and thinking, wow, okay, I might not win an Olympic medal, but I want to be a part of this sport. I want to be part of this journey. I want to be out on the water. You know, if not competing, then out watching. You know, this is a massively important showcase for the sport as a whole, not just specifically SailGP.
Oh, you're absolutely right, and you need to create that fan base, both sort of sailors and non-sailors, but those youngsters out there sailing around in their Oppies or their Bics or whatever. They need to have these events like SailGP. I think the transition that we've seen in the last 10 years or so to the foiling boats has helped massively for youngsters out there seeing sailing as being a really, really cool and exciting sport. And there are so many, as I said earlier, there are so many challenges in sailing that I think makes it such a special sport. But this is absolutely one that, you know, youngsters can watch the racing, watch the personalities, watch the teams, get behind their nation, and say, yeah, I can be doing that in 10 years' time, and you know, to be a part of that, to see the way the sport's evolving. Yeah, I think it's a really good moment in the history of the sport.
Well, that brings the formal element of today to a close. I know there'll be loads of you queuing up for one-on-one interviews. May we have, please, a round of applause for Chris Draper, Ben Ainsley, and Sir Russell Coutts. February the 28th, Sydney. Season 1 was good. Season 2 is going to be absolute.